What's up guys, Phantom here, back with episode 38 of my F1 2019 career mode, as we are going to Sochi for the Russian Grand Prix for round 16 of season 2.
Welcome F1 fans, where qualifying will be starting in the next few minutes as the teams prepare to get out on track at the Sochi Autodrome here in Russia. So, could be a tasty one today then, Ants. We've got all the ingredients, that's for sure. Treacherous conditions, an ever-changing racetrack, and one or two cars just behind the pace setters who maybe, just maybe, fancy a bit of an upset after a good performance from them in free practice.
And the question has to be, of course, what is that circuit going to look like in 10 to 15 minutes from now? If you think the rain's going to get worse, then you have to be straight out when the lights go green to find whatever grip you can. But if it eases off, then you're better off waiting, saving the tyres, and going out at the perfect moment. The other thing that comes with these conditions? Traffic, and the lack of visibility that comes from sitting in the spray. It's going to be a constant problem, and I expect to see a lot of frustrated drivers with ruined laps out there today.
As we start out here in Q1, as it is absolutely pouring it down here in Q1, it is probably the heaviest it's rained all season, as it will be completely dry for the race, but we have to qualify in completely wet conditions here, as it did not rain during practice as well. As we move on to the third sector here, as qualifying has ended, as we turn in for the last corner here and we accelerate off, we will be in P18, which is the second lowest position, joint second with the lowest position we've ever started here, as the other time we started P18 was in Australia in our first race. As we will move on to the race.
Good afternoon from Sochi as we prepare to get underway for the Russian Grand Prix. The championship battle has some time to go yet, but still expect no quarter to be given here on this circuit that made its debut in 2014 and has already seen some classic racing. It's full throttle for around 56% of the lap here at the Sochi Autodrome, a 3.6-mile run around the site of the 2014 Winter Olympics. 12 right turns and 6 left turns give us a total count of 18, with passing opportunities available into turns 1 and 13. And it's an absolute pleasure to be joined once again by Anthony Davidson. Now, let's talk about Charles Leclerc. As ever, the threat of unreliability is never far away, and indeed they'll be starting out of position today due to a power unit component change. So it's going to be a difficult task to move forward from there.
But on the bright side, at least those fresh components can help them maintain the power they need to come through the pack. I expect to see them take a more aggressive approach today to make up for the compromised start.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, with Sebastian Vettel starting alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Sainz, Hamilton, Lando Norris and Butler, Raikkonen, Perez, Weber and Nico Hülkenberg, Albon, Russell, Charles Leclerc and Kvyat. Stroll and a Haas, Antonio Giovinazzi, they've taken a grid penalty, and Kevin Magnussen. Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo fills the last spot on the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
As we sit here on the grid in P16 after Giovinazzi and Verstappen has penalties, as the 5 lights are out and away we go, as Giovinazzi's going to get an absolute super start there, as he's going to go around the outside of Stroll even. They're up into 15th, as we're going to look down the inside as the AI will break early, as there's a little bit of an end plate there that goes flying, as we are now around the outside of Giovinazzi here, as Leclerc's all the way back here. I think he also has a grid penalty. So as we go down the inside of him now into the right-hander after the long left, as we go side by side into another, predominant right-handers here at Russia. Not very exciting track, as we look to the outside and then the inside of Albon there, as we kind of almost lost control there in the braking section as we go around the outside of him. as now we are behind the other Williams of Russell down the straight here, as kind of weaving a little bit, and he's going to go defensive into turn 1 as we go around the outside and nearly almost smashed into the back of Hulkenberg there, but we have taken P11 as Hulkenberg's in a championship point spot probably for the first time all season, as we are going to take that, at least try to here. We should be able to. We are in a Haas versus the worst car on the grid right now, developmentally speaking, as we go off the track there, as we're going to give him the position back. I'd rather not unfairly take positions like that, even though it is the worst car on the grid, and I'm just going to pass him straight back here on the straight, as we aren't actually catching up that much, but we will be much better on the brakes as we have easily made that move stick as we go on to the front stretch here, as last year's arch nemesis here, Perez, has in the opposite situation. Last year we were defending from Perez, who looks like he doesn't have an end plate there, so he may be the person without the end plate that got lost, as he's going to try to go around our outside but won't be able to do it. As
some information on Weber, they're slowing down. It seems like there's some kind of problem with their car.
As we were catching up to this group ahead of us on lap 8, it's taken us 5 laps, as they built a pretty good gap in those first 2 laps there, as Weber has dropped away from the group there with some type of mechanical issue as we go into the pits at the end of this lap, as Hamilton's barely going to get out in front of us, which is really crucial, as later in the race you'll see, as we'll have a 2.4 second pit stop there, as we will be tumbling down positions as all these cars come past, as we will come out a few seconds down the road behind Norris here, as we've caught up to him, as Verstappen has not been able to get past all these lap traffic, all these back markers compared to the top 5 teams, as we're going to go look down the inside of Norris as he's going to try to squeeze us a little bit there, as we make sure not to hit the back of Verstappen there, as Verstappen's really getting held up by Albon and Perez, as we're going to go slip down his inside and make the move stick, as Albon goes a little bit defensive on us and backs us up a little bit, as Albon has kind of gotten a big lead down the back stretch, but we've almost made it all up, and we thought about making a move down the inside, but the AI always will turn into you. So we're going to look towards this left-hander and tremendously outbrake, lock up on the left front there, as we're going to try to go around the outside of this corner here, as it looks like Albon will be going into the pits, as that will leave Perez to us, as he'll be a sitting duck with DRS down the straight, as once again we'll overtake him, as I don't think he's pitted yet, so we got a full pit stop basically over him, as he's still out on sauce there. Now on the back stretch we have caught up to Sainz here in the Red Bull, as he is kind of getting held up a little bit by Raikkonen, as we are both catching up to Raikkonen, as we're going to make sure we get ahead of Sainz, as there we go, as Raikkonen clearly just turned it on us. We kind of had to jam on the brakes and get our back into turn a little bit more to miss him, as we are actually not that close to Raikkonen coming down the front stretch here, as we are coming back from a long way back, as we're going to need to make a dive down into turn 1, and we make it stick. But if you look there is Hamilton only a few seconds up the road there, and if we could have, you know, held him in the pits for an extra 2 seconds, there's all the gap in time we needed, as we will come home to finish P5.
Nice work, you did well today. I think the boss will be happy with that one.
So, another excellent win from Ferrari. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
Well, I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out on the track was today: speed. I know it sounds like an obvious thing to say, Crofty, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari do it again. And now let's take a look at the drivers' standings. It wasn't the best weekend for our championship leader, and their advantage at the top has been reduced. Some amazing talents out on the track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
Today, I think I'll give it to the Haas driver. They pushed and found some fantastic performance. It was just a pleasure to watch.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. The lead at the top comes down after a strong weekend from the challenging pack. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.